Why Don't You Smile?
Okay, so this is a Fluffy Jackets composition that we recorded with Manny Charlton in Sun Studios in Memphis. That's the first time we recorded together, and we had Manny was in there, and we had also Neil Murray from Whitesnake.
Yes.
And then my drummer couldn't fly out just last minute, so I phoned up Matt Ross Bang, who's a wonderful engineer and producer. He's produced Jason Isbell and Rival Sons and a lot of famous musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the engineer at Sun Studio at the time. And I said, well, I need a session drummer. Can you help me out? And he asked who's going to be on the session. And I said, Manny and Neil and me. And he said, oh, I could do better than a session musician, he says. And he got in the drummer for Jerry Lee Lewis band.
Wow.
Who recorded that song. So that was very special, obviously, to have him and hear his stories. He arranged a wonderful rehearsal room for us to rehearse. But anyway, so we did go into the studio, and I don't know if I have time for this, but there's a really, really wonderful story about Manny being a producer. And it goes a bit back to that sort of Love Hurts thing as well, because we recorded this live, by the way, in the studio. Manny listened back on the first take, and he says to Neil, the bass player, he says, "Oh, just because it's a slow song doesn't mean you have to play it like a fucking pussy." Neil was a bit taken aback on that. And Manny didn't mince his words in the studio when he thought something. So he really laid into it and said, well, even though it's a slow blues, we should just go for this, you know? And hammer the drums and really kick this thing into gear, right? Initially, Neil said, well, Manny, I'm just playing what's right for the song. And Manny says, well, that's not right. I can hear it. You know, you go back in there, doing all this. So we went back in. And the thing is, I could see Neil sitting up, and he recorded the most insane performance on this. And we came back in the studio, and nobody said anything because everybody knew that was the take, you know, because everybody was on fire.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I asked Manny later, because at the time I didn't know him that well, and said, well, why did you lay so hard into this on that session? And Manny says, well, he knows that Neil is the professional bass player. He's extremely good at what he does. He's one of the best bass players.
Indeed.
And he said, I would never dream of saying that to you or to any other people that I knew couldn't handle it.
Yes.
But he says he wanted people to really go for it and play to the best of their ability on that record, and to bring out the people. He says, well, that's what a producer does. He gets the best out of people, and he says, well, he gets a good producer will get stuff from you that you don't really know you have yourself.
Yes.
And that's what Manny did. It was such a mind-opening thing to sort of stand by him and watch this happen in real life.
You mentioned Neil Murray there, and I know you've recorded quite a lot with Neil Murray over the years. And like you say, he is an amazing bass player. Incredible. You know, tenure in Whitesnake was legendary, and you have managed to sort of work with some incredible musicians.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I'm so lucky. I mean, it's just by chance we got in touch with Neil to begin with, because the thing is, I think in any business, like this is a business, a record business or a music business or whatever you call it, but it comes about as being a business decision in many ways. At that time, I didn't have a studio, and obviously I'm going to record my songs at the best studios I can afford.
Yes.
And I know at the time also, I'm not a professional musician. And what I mean about that is that, do you earn your money primarily from playing music? At the moment, no, I don't, you know. But it's very hard to do that. But I have full 100% respect for the people who do. But Neil and Manny and many other people are professional musicians. And the reason why I started looking at that was that I knew that I can spend time with a bass player and rehearse for maybe 5 weeks, 5 days a week, and we probably could make a really great record in the studio as well. When it comes to Neil being professional, he can play so good that he can hear a song for the first time, and I can play so it sounds insane. But then if there's something you don't particularly like about it, he can go in 2 minutes later and can play it completely different.
Yeah.
And that's the skill he has. I mean, he's just mind-bogglingly talented as a bass player. I mean, and if you think about what you want to do for the rest of your life, he selected playing bass. As a guitar with 4 strings, it doesn't sound so hard, but when you get a lifetime to explore that instrument like he has, he can play stuff that just is mind-bogglingly good. Yeah, so a business decision is basically I needed to have a really good person, and who can I get? Can I get Neil Murray? And Neil, to his eternal credit, at the time I think he was playing in that musical We Will Rock You in London.
Okay.
And he played he played the same songs night after night. And so I think at that point he says, well, okay, I'll come and record with you as long as A, you're not shit, and B, if I have to take time off from the musical, you'll have to pay me what it costs to do that. But he says, well, I'll happily join you in the studio. And then we had a good time. And so next time I asked him back, he said, yeah, sure. And, it's been just a good experience for both, I think. So
yeah. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, Neil Murray is one of those people because bass players are a funny breed. Yeah. Similar to drummers, they're unique characters. And there's a lot of bass players out there that they play something that sounds good and it's competent and then there are others that you listen to their bass lines and you think that's not just a rhythm instrument, that's a lead instrument.
Exactly.
I do have a little thing for bass players like Jack Bruce and Colin Hodgkins and Neil Murray. These people, when you listen to them, their bass line is just as much a lead instrument as the lead guitar or the vocals or anything else.
Oh, yeah. No, on this song we're talking about now, Why Don't You Smile, what I like about his bass there is that it's almost like a story within the story.
Yeah.
Because it's evolving through the song. It starts out pretty, ordinary, but then it's just embellish it and build it up during the song. And then it's not just one good bass line that it's cut up and pasted. It's a performance, and it stands on its own. It's just I'm just in awe of Neil Murray. Yeah,
that's a good description. It's a performance by someone who really knows what they're doing.
Yes. After I did that, I was like, and it's the same in many regards. It's when you see what the skills are involved, in the studio, then you just you see the difference between a competent player and a professional.
It's the difference between the good and the great, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah. That's one we actually performed on Manny's concert as well, and I played that on stage with Neil Murray actually. So that was Neil Murray. He says, okay, I'll fly out on my own expense. He says to pay tribute to Manny. So it was very sweet of him to do, and to stand on the same stage and him that night was very special as well. Yeah.